Salud, provocarle but the problem is we need it with the PDL low. Tenemos aquí el log here. Ok, eso será para mañana que van a coger el marco range. Si marco range pueda que vaya por hacia high and low. Cogió hacia el low que bueno. Está a punto de acabar tampoco, eso al menos presionando este back, para que sea posible que vayamos a por el PDH que hay un fair value gap diario y subir presionando ese
abre nuevas puertas. Sé que lo sabe, Rick necesita refuerzos, empezando por un 9 para levantar la Champions. Y el club está listo para tomar decisiones que pueden sacudir por completo la plantilla. Te adelanto que el número 1 causará mucha polémica. 5. Valde o José. Dos piezas importantes, pero también dos activos valiosos. Si llega una oferta fuerte desde la Premier, el Barça escuchará.
Especialmente Valde, juventud, proyección y mercado. Una venta aquí podría financiar medio mercado para el equipo culé o alivianar el precio.
There's crisps in a sandwich.
We do full fibre broadband, so you
lot of times, you know, will go up a few more points and I can capture it. The difference of like 5 points versus 7 or 8 points is actually pretty big in the long run.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, here it goes.
Yeah, no, I got it. Are you about to get it? Let's go back to your chart.
Well, on the bright side, you look astonishingly beautiful.
Yeah, I have my finger on the trigger on Ninja Trader. Oh, here we go. A couple more takes.
Oh, really? I went nowhere near 30% peak drawdown. I broke that rule once a few months ago. I will never break that rule again. I came nowhere near that. That's not glory at all.
And that's actually a good rule for a lot of
It's a
people
good
who
rule.
like
You shouldn't risk over 30%.
if you have a problem going on tilt and YOLOing your account and averaging in, that will help you get through it out.
Yeah, this is a bit of a mix up, so. Me, actually. Huh? It belonged to my grandmother. Huh?
Des, this is my good friend Rick. Rick, this is my Jake's dad, Dennis.
How you doing?
Good to soft hands, give much right?
I do, actually. Well, it's very nice to meet you. It's nice to finally put a face to the name.
Oh, sorry. See one of our photos.
Oh, there aren't any.
Yes.
Have fun! Dennis, you do have particulars, right?
Gibby, better give us some intelligence.
Tickets! Anybody have any tickets?
My daughter's just got through. I've got a couple of spare tickets if you want. Yes, thank you so much, so much. Oh, whatever.
This is all the money I have.
My son's gonna love me. You want to do something so lovely?
Yes,
Don't break the
definitely.
law. Hey, that's entrapment!
Yes, super pretty high.
That's brutality!
Gibby! Don't need caution.
Pretty low.
I leave. Gibby!
Did you meet with Libby at the bakery?
No. We met at the bakery, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What?
I guess we didn't notice the wreck that day.
Pretty low,
Libby
pretty
poured chocolate
low.
eclairs in the back of the room to get it to close properly. No, I work in the financial district, actually. I'm a hedge fund manager for one of these.
I do high-level security analysis and operations for that field.
Well, you said you were a security guard at Williams Clothing Store. Right. Well, as funny a tab, I got a big run. A big what? Oh, well, I'm training for the Meiji River Run next month.
The what?
The Meiji River Run? It's a marathon race along the Thames River.
Why would you do that?
Well, it's a charity thing. So, plus I love to run. I actually ran the London Marathon a little while ago.
Oh, that's a coincidence.
Oh yeah, how's that?
I watched it on the telly.
Ah.
The last hour. I sleep in on a Sunday, so.
Right. Well, look, you know, I know these things can be pretty awkward when you're running. You know, you're just
If you
chatting.
do the porn,
Well, I just want you to know
it's
that
really gonna be hard to
I like Libby and Dave very, very much. And, well, I just
run
appreciate you being
with
so
all
proud about
Easter.
this, you know? Hey,
Yeah.
yo, you want tickets?
No, you got it.
You sure?
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah.
So I'll see you around.
So,
Well,
good to see you.
let's give you a key, please.
Bye. See ya.
Pretty low. I say low.
What did Alex freaking sell you on that thing? I know he's big on it. What up, Ace? Good morning. Erkan, good morning. How we doing, chat? What up? What up, Z? I saw some people made some more. No trades yet. Oh, we just did 2 giveaways. I hope you will by the free vote. Yeah, appreciate it. Yo, W Luke. Let's get to 450. Oh, wait. 470. You can tell us push for more likes. 470. Yeah, let's check out some of the music. The one on Friday with Maggie was Flex Count. Ah, do you think conference should be about spending 2 to 3K on evaluation, trying to get 20% of the status and then take payouts to cover expenses and buy more accounts, actual profit? Yeah, I mean, bro, listen, however you do the math, as long as your ROI is positive, you're a profitable
Imagine
profit.
being able to build anything
All right?
just
Don't
by
let
thinking
anyone tell
about
you different. That's the game. All right? The better your ROI is, the better of a profitable user you are. Running accounts is impossible to avoid. It is almost literally impossible. You are given trailing drawdown, consistency rules, profit targets. All of these things you do not have in a personal cash account, right? So, yeah, should you not have to blow a personal cash account? Yeah, you don't need to have to ever blow your personal cash account, truly, because you have full freedom. But in prop firms, you have a lot of restrictions. So what do we do with those restrictions? We play the game a little bit, right? We risk more to build that buffer more quickly, or we trade for a specific amount of profit each day to pass a consistency rule. Doing all of these things, it is impossible to not blow some accounts in the pursuit of payouts. So that's just what it is. Can we short this Ponzi to the ground today? Dude, I would love to. I would love to short this thing. I want to see it crash and burn. I'm so tired of all-time highs. Good morning. Good morning.
I'd love a pint, actually, but
So everyone who hasn't hit the like button yet, please do it. Yeah, hit it, hit it, hit it. Check out the Chill House Liquidity Flow. Oh, you made some background music? That's fire too. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Also, why is this showing up way too bright? Learned this little trick from my sister-in-law who's a photographer. She said, put a white shirt over the light. Is that, did you say the code more clearly? We haven't done a giveaway though. If you're talking about code match, I'll say that code all day. Code match, baby. Get the best discounts on all your favorite prop firms. People calling Luke a teacher's pet is hilarious. No, he just wants to not spend all day doing giveaways because he's a real trader. Bro is a trader. Other people, there's giveaway frenzy. All due respect, Luke is an actual trader. Zach, I built a strategy from an edge pool data that you said in the streams, combining with Austin's VWAP strategy, where I get around 80 to 90% win rate with an average of 0.9 to 1 off per trade. Let's go, Zid. I love it, bro. Back testing with data and formulating models around data is beautiful. Morning, Darren. Short this thing to 0. I'd love to. Looks like you lost. We're out here. We're out here trying to mod. You know what I mean? No, you know what's funny though? Yeah, I'm still going to the gym, but I got so close. I'm about to break 180. Right now I'm 180 pounds. A couple months ago I was 197, chat. I was 197 pounds. That's what dad life did to me. So yeah, we are lean maxing for sure. Appreciate you. What's up? How are you? What up, Deke? 80/20s. I still don't know about the 80/20s. How can we use code match for 5 accounts? I noticed it only gives discounts to the first account, not able to buy 5. Really? You should be be able to use that code on every account, unless funded next promo is only on the first account. 10% off all evaluations, first order only. Okay, so that's just the funded next promo. They don't do huge discounts, Chad, unfortunately. But, you know, they have well-priced challenges. So they kind of just make it so you don't need the discount. You're going to spend around the same, discounts or not, than you would on a different firm. So that's just the way they do it. Most firms, it's not like that, as you can tell. Most firms, you use the discounts on every challenge. I guess funded next is just 10% on the first one. Mod life. Are there any discount codes for Edgeful? Dude, I wish, man. I wish. I would love to get, I should ask them if I can get them, if I can get a discount for alchemy. But I actually was just speaking with them. They're going to let me do giveaways. So I'm going to be giving away some Edgeful accounts this Friday, or some Edgeful subscriptions. First month free. So stay tuned for that. I am going to be doing some Edgeful giveaways, which is pretty cool. You don't like the mood if your workout volume isn't super high. I mean, I definitely have been avoiding bread because my workout volume is not low because I just don't have time. Like what I do right now, I just do 20, 25-minute kettlebell workouts every other day. That's what I do. I've been pretty consistent. So my workout volume is not very high, to be fair. So I do try to stay away from the bread. That's helpful. And that's hard for me, though. I'm an Italian kid from New York. I love bread. That's actually huge. Is that in the liquidity lab? Are you talking about the Edgeful giveaway? No, I'm going to do it here for PFM. I'm going to do it for Prop Firm Match. I've sent a picture of a guy who looks exactly like you. Can you ask people if it's true or not? What? Let me see. Oh my God, dude. Fuck off, bro. I hate when people tell me I look like Jonah Hill, bro. That's, dude, when people tell me I look like this dude, I mean, I somewhat see it in the face a little bit, but this has been my entire motivation for lean maxing, bro. People tell me I look like Jonah Hill. Oh, dude. I swear, I'm not Jewish, Ken. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm Italian. So people say we look alike. Chat's going to say yes. They're going to say yes, especially because they know it bothers me. Just beard and maybe hair. Thank you. Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, yo, Jonah Hill does have some style. Bro is style, man. For sure. Everyone thinks you have to work out 2 hours daily, all about creating small, consistent... Yeah, dude, I feel that. He lost a lot of weight as well. True. Jonah Hill? Edgeful is for what? So Edgeful is like a data program. They have a lot. They have a bunch of back-tested data preset where you can customize these things. So like, these are some of my favorite reports, but they have a ton of different reports on specific data points that people can build strategies around. Like one of my favorites is the initial balance breakout report. I use this and reference it daily, right? I'll be referencing it throughout the stream, but on top of that, you'll have this reports, and then you can customize things. You can customize it by session, by ticker, by a data range, 6 months, a year, all the way to like 5 years worth of data. It's really, really helpful, and it's intuitive to use, which is good for me because I am not a nerd. Like, no offense to the backtesting nerds. That's just not, I don't like spending all my time backtesting. I don't do it anymore. So it's cool for me to reference data that they've already done all the heavy lifting, right? I just need to kind of plug things in and see if I could, this is where the creative part of trading comes in, right? Because there's the data part where you backtest these things to find relevant data to create a model around. And then there's the creativity aspect, which is how do I use this data to make money in the markets? And that's the part that I really love, right? I love the creativity aspects, like finding things that work and testing out different stuff in real markets. So yeah, I think data is really helpful. And if you don't want to sit there and backtest, it's super useful. I'll drop a link for it if anyone wants to check it out. Like I said, no discount codes. points. There you go. Zach, can you check out about the 25 and 50% of IB retracement stat for me too, please? Well, here's the thing, Zid. You know, I like to reference what's relevant for me in the moment, but I try not to. I don't want to just like straight up give out all the sauce because it is a program that, you know, people should be paying for if they want to get all the access. This is the first day or beginning of the week where the daily 12-hour, 4-hour are all indicating rollover on momentum and money flow on market cipher. Little pump to midnight and drop. Would love that, Rock. Yeah, we could definitely get maybe a little midnight retracement and then drop, or maybe even one more sweep of the high. But also, like, right now we're sitting below previous day's POC. I'm so tempted to just get into a tiny short right here and hold it with a wide stop. But I keep doing this in pre-market, and you know, it's like hit or miss. I think I'm gonna wait till the open. You know, fully offline to use Trading Journal, so no Notion nonsense or TradeZella. Nah, I've always used TradeZella. I don't journal anymore, so for me it's just that's what I used though. When I was journaling, I used TradeZella. It was great. What would you recommend to improve your trading when you have a good market analysis but bad mental and can't fix it yet? Yeah, this is like the age-old question, man. This is the age-old question. People have decent strategies, but they can't seem to make money because they tilt. There's going to be a certain point where you just can't deal with the pain of tilting all the time and ruining your progress that you're just gonna have to like sit down, buckle down, and not tilt, bro. And I wish there was an easy answer for that. That is the truth. You just have to like go through enough pain that you finally stop tilting. And that doesn't mean you're never gonna tilt either. Like, I blew my Tradeify Live accounts, guys, in a few weeks. I didn't trade them well, you know. Maybe you could call it a little bit of tilt. It happens to the best of us. But you know, long term, I know that I do that way less to the point that I can remain profitable. We did smack it the other day in pre-market. It's true. You took a paper cut trying to short this. Yeah. What up, Zone NYC? What up? Good morning. So yeah, I mean, guys, when we hit 470 likes, I can run a quick giveaway. FYI. So if anyone wants to smash that like button, we only need about 10 more. Yeah, like we are on right on top of a key level right here. We could use previous day's point of control as a line in the sand and try and get in short here. I mean, we could. Just this market just goes up and up and up though, so it's scary. I'm trying to continue to short. But I do think it's getting to be bears time to shine. I mean, come on. I think a higher time frame, we have to pay attention to this daily gap on ES right here. I think the market is going to finally truly roll over once we get a daily closure below 7,190. Okay, we get a daily closure here and inverse this bullish fair value gap. I think at that point there is nothing in our way to stop us from going down to some of these unmitigated gaps down here. We could use this one as the lowest hanging fruit, right? So something like this, we get a daily candle closure below this level. I think that's when we start looking for shorts down to take out all this low resistance liquidity that we've built up over the last few days. So I'll look for something like that, you know what I mean? Until then, I guess you have to remain a little bullish, but I like the idea of shorting. I can't get over it. But this will be the highest probability short once we inverse this daily gap. Do you think Mondays are tricky? I do. I think they're a little tricky sometimes. But I try not to think too much about that. I try to just trade price action on a day-to-day basis. How to get into the giveaway. So to enter into our giveaways, you have to be a member of the PFM Discord. There's a pinned YouTube comment at the top of the chat. Click that link to join. And then when it comes time to do a giveaway, I'll go in there on Discord and show you guys how to enter. It might be time now. Did we hit 470? We did hit 470. Do you guys want to run a giveaway? Let me know. Oh, whoa. Okay. The Discord should be pinned to the top of the YouTube chat. I will show you. Okay, so here we are. Here's the stream, right? Here's the chat. Go here, switch it over to live chat. Oh, is there no pinned comment? Oh, the pinned comment isn't there. Let me pin one right now. Let me take care of that. Oh, wait, no, it's right here. It is there. It's on the bottom. Why couldn't I find that? Yeah, it's on the bottom. Right here. Bam. Click this link. And then click accept invite. And you'll be in. Did you listen to the song for Liquidity Labs? No, there some people have put some new stuff in there. We can look at it. But let's set up this giveaway first. Let's do that. So I'm gonna pull up Discord. All right, here we go. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to create a code. Code will be Monday 4. Oh, and then the duration. All right, yeah, I forgot about this. So let's do 5 minutes. Bam. So you're going to have 5 minutes to enter in here. All right, so get those entries in. To enter, click enter and just type in the code. Submit. Oh, it's weird it's not showing it. Oh, that's part of it. They want you to. Oh, yeah, I forgot. So you need to do that so that bots can't get in there. People who are watching the stream can't enter. So this is a way to make everything more fair. So get those entries in, guys. Monday 4. Yeah, that's genius. Shout out to AJ. Shout out to AJ. Yeah, I just typed it here. It's like this. Monday 4, like the number 4. Five minutes is too long, really? All right, well, on the next one, maybe I'll do 3. So similar to NQ, it's going to be something like this. I think there's a daily gap here. Yeah. This is also something we can use as a draw on liquidity here today, right? For the market to draw into this gap. And then similarly to ES, if you get that closure beneath it, I think you can look for that move to take out all of this low resistance liquidity and just fill the first imbalance, right? Which is like around here. That's my view. It's got to happen. It has to happen at some point. What up, Sakuna? Good morning, bro. Yeah, you also have an hourly SIBI right here. Should we do this, chat? Part of me thinks I should do it again. We can do like 2 micros. You know what I mean? Small. All right, we're going to do it. 2 micros. Here we go again. good entry location if we're going to be right. Above 50%, up in a premium. You still have draws on liquidity below. We could retrace to midnight first, so we're going to give it the room it needs there, but we're going for it. Oh, the Ripper was your idea, bro? W. It's a good idea. The code is Monday 4. Monday 4. Would I like to give my red cap? Hell no. Oh, 25 seconds left. Here we go. I like this. This makes a clean cutoff. I'm going to copy names in 15 seconds, gang. Once again, I don't need to stop when I'm trading 2 micros, guys. These are 100K accounts with a $4,000 max loss limit, so I'll just manually cut the trade when it's time or place a hard stop when I think I'm ready. I might even add into this. So this is kind of like a starting position. I like Tradeify Lightning more, personally. Whoa. Little move right there, right before 10 a.m. I am short. I am short. Whoa. Whoa. Market's moving. We'll put a hard stop up here for now. Yo. Decent move so far. I mean, using previous day's point of control as that line in the sand. Pre-market. Listen, we can't get excited yet, right? Because all this market does is, you know, disappoint shorters. But trade the devil's mark. Where's the devil's mark? I see a 5-minute one right here. Yeah, that's helpful for us. Is there a 15-minute? It'd be nice to see one with a higher time frame.
Touching hand, touching cheek.
There is one down here, all the way down here.
You, sweet sandwich time.
That's a little further than I'd like to hold the trade.
This summer,
it's there.
Hellman's mayonnaise makes sandwiches taste
So good, so good, so good.
Just Trump manipulating the market like meme coins. Yeah, pretty much. Zach, don't announce code multiple times because they're only here for entry and they're not what. Don't tell me what to do, bro. I'll do whatever I need to do. If somebody asks for it in the chat, I'm going to tell it to them. Okay, let me copy these names. Let's do that. Oh yeah, this is better. There's less people who enter, which is good. That's what we want. Okay, I'm getting the names ready right now, guys. Just bear with me. giveaway of the week for AM session. You with me on these shorts to 50%? Let's go, Erica. All right, we ready? Drop a 1 in the chat if you're ready. Let's go. We're going to do a 5-minute race, so whoever gets first place wins, okay? In these 5 minutes, I'm going to go take a quick coffee break, all right? So I'll be back in like 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. We'll see who wins the race. Good luck, everyone. We'll be right back. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Shop big deals right now at AO. Get savings on washing machines, ovens, and fridge freezers from brands like Haier, Beko, and My Dear. All from the UK's most trusted electrical retailer. Shop now at ao.com. Verify most trusted at ao.com/trust.
up. Congrats, Luffy. Type that in here. Alright, cool. Let's get our music back on. Where's the music? You won either an Aqua Futures or a Funded Next account. The support team will decide what's best for you, on which account makes most sense for you. I will also give away Lucid accounts today, guys, but I need to see at least, I think we got to shoot for like 600 likes, which I think we're going to get by at some point. So when we hit 600 likes, I'll give away Lucid. But in the meantime, we'll do Aqua Futures and Funded Next. Shout out to our sponsors. We couldn't do this without them. Zach, my dude, the Sayao songs are mid. Can we have our classics? What classics like this one? Because I do fuck with this one. I like this one a lot. My trade went back up toward the entry. We still got 15 minutes till the open, so we will see what happens, guys. We will see. Your boy is in another pre-market trade. Your boy is in a pre-market short yet again. We'll see how it goes. Oh yeah, I gotta make sure our guest can get into the stream. Let me just send them the link. There we go. Just got all that set up. Who is our guest? So it's the Trading Academy. Is this, I don't think this is the Funded Brothers, right? Let me double check who this is because I didn't look into it too much. Let me see. Okay, they're not on X. The Trading Academy. He's on YouTube. Let me check his YouTube. I'm actually, I don't know him personally, I don't think. Usually I know all of our guests. Okay, the Trading Academy. Right here. Looks like he's from London. Alright. Got some nice views on his on all of his videos. Looks like he trades supply and demand. Okay, so we'll have a lot to talk about. Cool. I'll get his real name when he comes in here. Fabio. Shout out, man. I know, thank you. Good luck on my short. I know, I'll probably need it. Theoretically, you shouldn't have entered this trade since it's pre-market. I mean, theoretically, no. There's no theory here. Like, sometimes I take pre-market trades, sometimes I don't. I prefer not to, but sometimes I see an opportunity. I do like the trade location here. I think we are right below previous day's POC, currently holding. So I like the trade location. I do. We have devil's marks to the downside. I don't see any devil's marks to the upside. There is some S&T divergence, right? ES is definitely holding more bearish than NQ. Hopefully ES can lead NQ down towards some of these targets. Zach is good for doing giveaway every 1 hour and good like target. Get Luna for big likes target. Okay. Fabio, best in the game. Okay, cool. Looking forward to talking with him. You should bring on ICT so he can call us his children like a cult leader. Trade looks solid. Yeah, give me a W or L on this trade. W or L. What do you guys think? What do we think, Chad? W or L? What do we think? Damn, a lot of you guys are giving me dubs. A lot of people, they were giving me L's last week on all my short ideas. Fabio trades order flow? It looked like he trades.
Are you the kind of person
SMC.
who knows things? Things like you can get a domain from Squarespace, not just a website. Well, now you are that person. Because
Sorry, man,
now
I
you
think we're going
definitely
up
know
again,
you
man.
can
Don't
get
be
a
sorry.
domain from
Fair enough.
Squarespace.
we
Something
do is
like
go up.
whisperingbloom.com for your silent retreat.
Okay,
or
some L's are coming
whisperingbloom.com
in.
for
We
your
got some
shouting
L's.
retreat.
About 50,
Whatever your
50.
dream, a Squarespace
Here,
domain
let's
and
do this.
website
Let's do
brings
a
it to
poll.
life, all in
Let's
one
drop
place.
the daily bias
Get yours
check-in
before it's
poll.
gone with
We gotta
offer code
see.
Make It Real for 10% off your domain or website. Terms and conditions apply.
Let me get rid of this London session poll. All right, there's the poll. Bullish always or bearish finally? What do we think for the day? Bank holiday in UK? That means nothing. That means nothing to me. UK. Fabio is the best scalper. Interesting. Okay. Will be interesting to talk to him. Gotta hand it, the shorts look nice. They look nice, but are they nice? Will they play out nice? That's what we're gonna have to find out. Second world future champion of 2025. Is this real or is below its previous day's POC. We just want to see it stay below the POC, ideally. And then take some of these moves. We have a 15-minute devil's mark all the way down here. I'm not going to hold my trade for that, but hopefully we can fill some more of this imbalance, take out some of this low resistance liquidity down here. I really think it's a decent setup. We're just kind of consolidating underneath the previous day's POC until the open. Let's see what you guys are thinking. It's about 50-50. Almost 100 votes in a couple minutes, and it's like 50-50 on bearish or bullish. All right. We're going to see. We are going to see, Chad. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the week. It's time. It's time to get trading. Took 2 paper cuts on these shorts. Woo! Yeah. That's why I'm just ultra wide stop guy these days. Now, I really just love using crazy, stupid wide stop losses, Ercon. In New York session, it's just the way to go, bro. I just try and pick and draw liquidity. I try to get in on a good trade location, i.e. in premier, either in premium or discounts of whichever way I'm looking to go. And then I use it, I call it wide ass stop. That's it. Otherwise, I'll take paper cuts all damn day. Are you in sells? Yes, sir. What's your yearly profit for 2026? I am up approximately $60,000 in payouts for 2026 so far. It's looking to be a great year for me. Is Ercon a follower or is he from PFM? What do you mean by that? He's the homie. We know each other from ASFX. Zach, you're such a good host. Love the show. Hey, appreciate you, man. I try. First candle manipulation bull 27,950. Then it will go down until 27,580. Okay. My TP is at 27,603. So let's go. You won either an Aqua Futures or a Funded Next account, okay? The support team will help decide which account you want. Talk to them. Good morning, NGL Trades. What's good? Let's have a good week, man. Absolutely. Full name of host. Are you talking about me? Are you asking about me? Full name of me? Here's my X account if you want to follow. You can find everything else right here. All right, 7 minutes, chat. 7 minutes. Trades here, Trade-Evade all day. I'm a Trade-Evade guy. I like my Trade-Evade. I like the simplicity. I don't need all the special stuff and the frills and the bows. I don't need all that, man. Just give me a clean execution. Let me hit buy and sell with minimal problems, and I'm happy. I don't need all the special stuff. Bears arm, I know. I stay bearish lately. It's a problem. It is a problem. Is a problem how bearish I've been. I know. beauty of live streaming though, guys. Like you see me make mistakes, you see me do the right thing, the wrong thing, but still ultimately come out net profitable long term. And I think that's the purpose of this stream. So I'm gonna make mistakes, I'm gonna trade good, I'm gonna trade bad, and everything in between, okay, throughout the year. That's how trading works. No one's ever on 100% of the time. It just doesn't work like that. Best copy trader for prop firms. I just use the built-in Tradevate copier, man. I keep it simple. So here inside of Tradevate, they have a copier that's built in, and I just use it there. Keep it very, very, very simple. This is not, there's nothing specific to Lucid here. It's either you like Tradevate or you like
London's West End.
I've never used
Six wives take
so
to
I
the
can't talk on
microphone
it.
to
I like
reclaim
Tradevate
their
personally.
crowns and retell their stories of love, loss, and their infamous ex. 80 exhilarating minutes, 1 billion streams. This
All right,
is the
4
musical
minutes, 4
everyone
minutes.
is losing their head over. Book now.
Zach, I can see you telling yourself it can't go up forever. It's true, dude. I'm one of those guys right now. I will admit. I am one of those guys. By the way, Prop Firm Match has a really cool new feature they're working on. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it, but it's easily the coolest feature I've seen from them. I was testing it out yesterday. I don't think I'll ask John if I can talk about it a little bit more in depth before I really give it out, but really dope feature. I'm really excited for it. How many funded accounts am I trading right now? This is copy traded on 3 100K instant funded accounts with top 1 futures. So just 3 accounts, nothing crazy. My Apex accounts are locked up. We're up on those for the day, and now I'm waiting for a payout on those. So we're just gonna trade top 1 futures. That's all I got right now. I haven't tried Funded Next yet, but I'm going to soon. Shout out to Funded Next. If you guys are new to Funded Next, you can get 10% off your first account of any plan with code match. Baby. Also, some of the other firms that I'm loving right now. I mean, Lucid is the top of the list. 40% off multiple accounts with Lucid. Literally any account you want to purchase, you can get 40% off with code match. Tradeify, 40% off. Can't go wrong with them. Top 1 futures, 60% off. Apex, 90. There's only 3 days left for 90% off Apex Trader funding, so lock that in. All right, 2 more minutes. Let's just wait for the open. Let's see. Oh, you missed the stream, bro. So I just talked about it. I blew my Tradeify Live account. I already did the whole speech on it, so I don't feel like repeating myself. But I made a post about this. So you can read the post. I talked about it here. It sucks. It is what it is. I already talked about it though. So. All right. 1:20 till the open. May I ask why you use several accounts at once instead of sizing larger on one account? Aim to take multiple payouts instead of growing one account? That's the exact answer, yeah. Think about it like this, man. If I get, well, let's just go over April's payouts, right? Most of these futures firms have payout caps, right? You can only take out $2,000 per account per payout cycle. So if I did everything on one account, the max I'm getting out, I can withdraw is still $2,000 for that payout cycle. If I trade 4 accounts, that's 2,000 times 4, that's $8,000. Now if I do that twice, which I did in April, I'm taking out $16,000. So yeah, I mean, pretty simple. Copy trading is how you exploit the leverage and get those big payouts. You're not going to get that from trading one account. How soon can one get a payout on top 1 futures after getting the instant? 20% consistency rule. So you could get paid out in a minimum of 5 days, right? Technically, you can get paid out in 5 days if you get a 20% consistency rule in those 5 days. Here we go, guys. 9 seconds till the open. Watch me just get steamrolled again. consistency is horrible in my honest opinion. Listen, bro, that's the futures game. There's consistency rules in most futures firms, unless you're trading like Lucid Flex accounts have no consistency, so people really love those. They don't bother me, man, because I'm not the type of trader that looks to have crazy outsized days. You know, I like to have base hit days over and over again. Yeah, not a crazy open yet. Still kind of stuck in the range here. It wants to get above that POC, but the POC is fighting it for now. ES looking a little heavier than NQ. Let's see. Oh, you're a CFD peasant. Yeah, that's why. Okay, little push. Little push. I am looking for a big move, I'm not gonna lie, but again, in the grand scheme of things, it's small. Like, you have this clear low resistance liquidity down here. You have these devil's marks. If you want the lowest hanging fruit, I think it's this 5-minute devil's mark is a good draw. Okay, but I'm gonna be pushing for lower if we can get there. We'll see. Get below this 15-minute gap up here. This is holding price up. So if we can inverse this, I think this trade's good for the lows. That will also be in line with previous day's value area low. So if we lose that, we lost all our volume profile levels, and it is a bearish day technically, as long as we're below the POC. About 50-50, more a little bit leaning bullish for most people, so fair enough. I wouldn't say it's bearish yet. It's still just kind of stuck in here, but yeah, we'll see. Guys, I'm just gonna go fill my water. Just watch my trade for me, okay?
So you can
let the chair
do that final boss battle,
I'll be right back.
or catch that final cliffhanger. Scroll solo in peace, or dish up family dinner. For the movers, the shakers, the new hobby makers, do life with full fiber broadband that's in your corner. Check hyperoptic.com for availability and terms.
W chair. Gotta take my supplements. Chair is the best trader. W chair. Rumo is long NQ 27,854. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, we will see, Chad. We're gonna have our guest on soon too, Fabio. Chair has no emotion. Nope. Fabio, just give me a thumbs up when you're ready, boss. I was asking Lucid's chatbot, and it mentioned Pro is 35% consistency, but the chart shows 40. That's interesting. I believe it's 40. I believe PFM might be right on this one. We'll have to double check that. Yeah, let's see, isn't there? Everything should work. Yep. All right, so you're good, bro? Thumbs up? All right, cool, cool. Let's throw you up. Yo.
Yo, yo, yo.
What's up, man?
Hey, guys. I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, good. Good to have you on here, man. Welcome to the stream.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. I was checking out your YouTube before you got on. Looks like you got some cool stuff on there. It looks like you trade SMC. Is that true? Like more of a supply and demand concepts?
Yeah, it's more just price action. Price action together with liquidity concepts. But yeah, you could call it SMC. You could call it smart money, supply demand, liquidity, whatever.
Sure, sure. Yeah, it looks like we trade somewhat similarly. I mean, I use, imbalances, liquidity, fair value gaps, things like that. I also couple it with volume profile, though, so I guess that's where I maybe branch out a little bit from like a standard ICT trader or supply and demand. But price action is always king. That's number one for me. I use volume profiles like an extra confluence, you know what I mean? But that's cool, man.
I fully agree. At the end of the day, all the strategies are the same, I
to
think
a certain,
you trade
we're trying to get
SMC, ICT, even if you trade price action, it all comes down to the same thing.
We're trying to get to the same answers for sure. That's cool, bro. How long have you been trading? I checked out your YouTube. You got a pretty huge following, but I wasn't aware of you personally. So would love to maybe just give the chat a background on who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been trading, all that stuff.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, hey guys, my name is Fabio. I've been trading since 2019, and in 2021, when I started to become profitable, I decided to just journal myself every single day on YouTube, just to keep myself accountable. And I started doing daily market outlooks, just on purely the dollar pairs. And that hobby kind of got out of control. And I started doing just every single day for the past 6 years a daily market outlook, and now we're here.
Beautiful, man. So do you trade mostly Forex then? I heard you say dollar. You do your analysis on dollar pairs.
Yeah, I trade mainly FX, so CFDs, and then on indeed just the major dollar side. So a lot of traders who trade Forex, they do, let's say, only Euro USD or only gold, for example, then CFDs. Or they trade all of the FX pairs, but I trade just the major dollar pairs. And then the yen pairs as well, when the dollar doesn't provide anything. Kind of like Nasdaq and whatever you guys trade, Dow.
Yeah. We're over here. We're mostly futures, so like NQ, ES. We got a lot of people who trade gold as well, the futures contract. Not many Forex traders though, although you can trade obviously Forex futures, which is mostly just dollar pairs. So you don't have more of the exotic ones listed on the CME, but you have EU, GU, AU, any USD pair, even dollar yen, which when I did, I came up in Forex first, moved over to futures a few years ago. So I know the Forex world. I love the yen pairs, man. I feel like the yen pairs are the closest thing to
don't have to be kind of like an idiot to understand where Nasdaq is going. Like Nasdaq just naturally always trends up, right? However, somehow still people lose so much money trading Nasdaq because they try to go long, short, and try to kind of like capture all the moves in between, let's say price moving from point A towards point B, and like in the middle there, that's where everybody loses. And what I really try to preach to everybody, and also everybody watching here, is just only focus on trading move A towards point B, and don't go A, B, C, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, like trying to trade the whole alphabet. Just only trade A to Z, for example.
Sure, man, sure. I mean, especially as a swing trader, I would imagine you really, like, just naturally, you have to be more focused on what the market is currently doing in terms of trend, right? Like, you could probably trade a lower time frame reversal in the context of a higher time frame trend, I guess. Like, if you're on the 4 hour, you might be looking for a 4 hour trend continuation then, but maybe would you get into a trade based off hourly or 15-minute price action when you find that inflection point within the trend you're looking to trade? Or, like, how do you go about it?
Yeah, so main focus always relies on pretty much the daily. So understanding what your daily trend is. A good pair to look at is, for example, like an ADJPY or an ADCHF or even a Euro USD. Now, obviously, Euro USD has on the daily time frame been relatively consolidative due to everything that's going on in the world at the moment. It's kind of like trading very closely in a range. But you'll always focus on the daily, and then you'll just go to the 4 hour time frame to understand, okay, where do I want to enter? And then you could use the 1 hour time frame then to actually enter, but I always say you can easily just stick to the 4 hour time frame. That's all you really require.
Got you. Interesting. Also, if you want to pull your charts up, actually, man, if you've never used StreamYard, it's pretty easy. Just go down to present in the bottom corner.
Yeah.
You'll see it says present. You could share a tab, a window, whatever you want if you want to get into your charts. I'm sure the chat would be interested.
Let me share it.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, we don't get a lot of swing traders on, man, because, you know, it's mostly a futures-based stream, so it's always day trading. With the futures firms, you can't really hold overnight or anything like that, so it's very day trading focused, lower time frames. So it's nice when we get a little
At
change
Wix,
here.
the home and garden event is
Yeah, no,
now
I love
on.
just
Save
always
on
sharing my
Dulux
screen and
standard
sharing
2.5 litre
kind
coloured
of like what I'm
emulsion
looking at.
was
So,
£24, now
hey guys,
16.
just to give you a
Plus,
little
save on
background
Crown
story
and
on
Wix
kind of like how to
paint
approach it.
Shop in store
You
and
always really want to
online
be sticking
at
to pairs
Wix.
that trend very, very hard. So for example, if you look at your USD right now here on the daily time frame, it's relatively hard as a swing trader to make money where, let's say, your USD is trading right now, right? You want to either enter pretty much here, or you either want to pretty much enter over here, and then you want to swing it down, or you want to swing it back up, right? That's kind of like the main focus. If we look at current markets, again, you can see that we're relatively, let's say, stuck within the overall range that we've been seeing here. And if we compare it to, let's say, last year, where the market was driven by tariffs, then it's obviously a lot, let's say, easier as a swing trader to make your returns, because in this overall leg up, that's ultimately where you just want to be entering every single time. For myself, the main focus is just, again, for everybody also watching, just understand, hey, are we trending up or down? So for example, here we understand that we're trending clearly in towards the highs. So whenever we see a retracement, you want to be entering. Most traders who look at, let's say, swing trading, they'll be looking at, for example, a support and resistance level. They'll be looking at, for example, a Fibonacci retracement, right? They'll be saying, hey, I want to see this level of support and resistance get tested, and then I want to see, for example, the 786 fib get hits, and then look to enter a long position. What I really just focus on is whenever a market impulse is in a certain direction, so you just want to be looking at the actual impulses itself and just identify a point of liquidity within that impulse. So for example, here, I'm just marking out the impulses in towards the highs, right? And this works on any single time frame. So I'm now doing it on the daily, but you could just might as well just do this on, let's say, a 1 minute chart or on a 50-minute chart. And then the focus is just always understanding, hey, when is price actually ready to continue moving in towards the highs? Now we all have kind of like our own theories, right, Zach? Like, what do you use to understand that price is ready to continue in towards the upside or to continue back in towards the downside?
Well, for me, it's really based off of narrative in terms of drawn liquidity. So for me, a trade, before I even think about the entry, it is very important that I have a drawn liquidity or a target as my narrative for why price is going to continue moving up or down. Less so than just we're in a bullish trend, so I want to see the market continue that bullish trend. I need something like equal highs, equal lows, a clear imbalance, things like that.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. So it's pretty much the exact same way that I approach the markets. The only difference is probably kind of like maybe the way that we enter. Look, here, every single green box that I've kind of like showed you is for me, the easiest way to kind of like explain what is a drawn liquidity is when we have that impulse, look for a pullback within that impulse. So for example, here you have a push, a pullback, a push, a pullback, a push, right? And I believe that underneath those little pullbacks, that for me is kind of like the drawn liquidity where I'll be looking for the next long position from. So whenever we take out that drawn liquidity, like that's pretty much where I'm going to be looking to go long from, with ideally my stop loss kind of like on the next draw of liquidity, and then just targeting most of the times, let's say a 1 to 2 risk to reward. Now this is a very kind of like large position, and I don't swing trade kind of like on these kind of distances for let's say over let's say 8 months, but just to give you guys kind of like an idea, that's kind of like the general approach that I'll have. And I do this on mainly the 4-hour time frame. This is now an example on the daily. Somebody's indeed saying in the chat, you're Dutch, aren't you? Yeah, guys, I'm Dutch. I'm from the Netherlands, Amsterdam, represent here. But you probably most of all have Americans, right, Zach?
I mean, we have all over, but we have a ton of Americans on the future side for sure. But we got a lot of Europeans too. A lot of Europeans have been trading futures lately. I know one thing about me, man. When I moved from Forex to futures, I was always day trading, so this is why it may be different. I definitely see the value in maybe swing trading FX pairs, but when it comes to day trading, man, in the last couple of years, like the major pairs, Euro USD, any USD based pair, just like volatility really seems to dry up for a couple of years, at least from a day trading perspective. So then when you move over to futures, where the leverage is very different, the volatility is so high, and you have really clean execution, right? So minimal spread, minimal slippage. These are things that, like a swing trader like you're probably not too worried about slippage, right? Because you're looking at a much higher time frame, you're using a wider stop to begin with. Whereas if you are day trading, this could be the make or break of an edge, right? Those, like, I can put the two same traders next to each other. One of them is trading NQ futures, the other is trading a NAS 100 CFD contract. They're both entering on the 1 minute time frame. Over the span of 100 trades or 1,000 trades, that trader who is executing on the NQ futures is going to be more profitable just based off of the commissions and minimal spread and slippage. So that could be the make or break of a fine edge in the markets. But of course, if you're trading higher time frames, these things really don't make much of a difference, but they do on the lower time frames. So that's what kind of drew me to futures. And then, it's a different way to play the game too. Like from what I see with CFDs, people get big accounts, those 300Ks, 200Ks.
Yeah.
They're trading that account for months and they're holding on to it and they're looking to make X 5%, 6%, take a payout. Where it's like futures, for example, I did 16K in payouts last month in April from Apex. That came from trading 50K accounts and taking a $2,000 payout times 4 twice.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It's just a different way of executing too.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with you, man. And I think that futures is definitely a very good way to skill. The thing is, for me always, is that like I have it also depends like on your lifestyle, right? Like I think a different lifestyle than to most people. Like for me, traveling is extremely important. I absolutely love traveling and being all over the place as many times as possible. So I'll probably be in a plane like kind of like traveling 4 times a month. Then kind of like trading futures is difficult because you just have to be behind your screen, at least from my personal experience. You have to be locked in at least, let's say, 3 to 4 hours, kind of like in a session. You're stuck behind the laptop. For myself, like with this approach to the market, I've designed the model where I can just really kind of like take a step back and enjoy kind of like my own time to do my own things. And an example of that is, let's say, an 80 JPY, right, where you can as well here again see what I kind of like mentioned at the beginning here. It's trending naturally in towards the upside. So within this overall daily trend, you're pretty much just buy only, right? Now I also have kind of like a fundamental understanding of the markets. Obviously, when you trade like a higher time frame, you also have to be looking at the higher time frame. So you'll be having to look at, for example, the daily, or you'll be looking at the weekly even. But when you see a clear daily trend like this, my next focus is to just look at the 4-hour time frame. And again, what I just explained to you guys earlier, whenever you have a 4-hour impulse, and it could be, for example, let's say this impulse in towards the highs here, this impulse in towards the highs here, then you have another impulse in towards the highs over here. Let me get that out.
Boy who harnessed the wind is
look, we all understand that the market here is trending towards the upside, right? And everybody who trades market structure understands, hey, low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So if you're so kind of like intelligent enough to understand that this is an uptrend, why can you then not still kind of like make money on it, right? And that question I answered pretty much at an early stage in my career, luckily, because we all understand, hey, we want to go long here, but then the problem is that we're using the tight stop loss here, tight stop loss here, tight stop loss here, and you end up kind of like getting stopped out 3 times within just trying to trade one move. So why not just use that wider stop loss and then just enter on that draw of liquidity like you explained, use the stop loss to be a little bit wider, give it the breathing room, and then just swing it back in towards the upside, as simple as that. So that's just a big focus, and I think a good way for everybody to kind of like just approach the markets. Don't try and always squeeze as much out of it. But again, it also comes back down to your approach, right, Zach? I think there's a big difference. I don't know if you trade personal capital as well, but there's a big difference, right, between trading like prop firms and personal capital. The prop firm approach is just pure ROI. Like how much do you spend, how much do you get out of it? Like you have obviously guys using like this, I saw it like a big meme on Instagram. It was like the CPI method. Everybody who trades futures probably knows the CPI method. It's like guaranteed pass. Like you put a buy stop and a sell stop, I think, and then you just pass the account in one day. And then it's just kind of like all about, hey, if you spend this amount, you just need to get this amount back out of it. Whereas on personal capital, it's a different approach. Like how do you approach that?
Yeah, very, very different approach, man. I do trade personal capital. This year I've been pretty heavily focused on prop firms because just the leverage you can get, I want to exploit it, especially while it's here. I mean, I think the industry will always be here, but I do think the industry is going to change a lot over the next few years. So, I see an edge, and I just want to exploit it as much as possible. But I do trade personal cash, and it's funny, I trade them completely differently. So I like what you were speaking about with the wider stop losses. A lot of people getting caught paper cut trades, tight stops, trying to squeeze the most out of the market possible. It sounds really great, like using an ultra high risk reward. Like I'm going to look for 1 to 5, right? Because I'd rather risk $100 to make 500 instead of 100 to make 100 or 100 to make 200. And one thing that was a major shift in my trading, specifically with futures prop firms and the prop firm model itself, was lowering my average R multiple to like 1 to 1. Even sometimes I go negative, man. I'll use a negative risk reward often. And the reason for this is because especially with futures prop firms, they just tend to reward a smoother upside equity curve, where when you're using tight stops and taking a ton of paper cuts, the futures market is so leveraged, even if you're trading micros, especially on the NQ or the MNQ, that you take 5 losses in a row trading a couple micros, even on a 50K account, you are in the risk of ruin area very quickly. So they just reward higher win rate trading models, and this was a huge shift for me. I was doing all right when I used to do crazy high risk reward, man. Like I had a 25% win rate, average R multiple would be 5, 6, and I was like, this works, I would say, but the thing is, eventually I just got fatigued by taking all of those paper cuts. So that's a factor, because the more losses you take, it's going to play an effect on your mental side of the game. And I shifted one thing. I've been trading the same concepts for years now. Again, ICT related concepts with volume profile. The one thing I shifted though was going from looking for those big home run trades to like base hits. It changed everything for me. I went from having like a 50K year as my first profitable year to making 6 figures in payouts. And that's the only thing I changed, bro. So to get back to your point, I would not trade a negative risk reward on a personal cash account though. I really wouldn't, because if I have 10 grand, 15 grand in a personal cash account that I'm trying to build up or flip, I don't want to risk 30% of my overall account balance on a single trade, especially a day trade for that matter. It just doesn't make sense. The return on the investment is way more risky than doing it on a set of prop firm accounts that I spent maybe $1,500 on 5 instant funded accounts or something. You know what I'm saying? Where that's my
fully agree.
Cost.
Yeah, no, fully agree. I think that it's so important to understand the difference, because a lot of people online also think kind of like it's about having the perfect risk those those profits in and just take the bloody money, man. Like I've done some futures here and there as well, and I remember like with the 50% consistency rule, like the way that I would approach it, it was I think it was I was using Top Step at the time. This is back in February. It was like 50% consistency rule, and then you had the 50k account, and then what was the profit target? It's 4k, I think, right? You have to do like two times $1,500 or something.
On a futures account, the profit target is usually 3,000.
Yeah, so you have to like 1.5k and then 1.5k, and then I had like day 1, day 2, and then I was just like full porting the account with like 2k risk, and then I was like 1.5k TP. So I was using like a negative risk to reward, but it was just all about like risk to reward in the sense, or return on investment, because the account is so cheap, right? With futures, like the account was what, like $109, I think, plus activation fee or something. And then for me it was like, okay, but I can get, let's say with the 50% payout rule or split, I can get how much, like 2k out of one account. So if you can get 2k out of one account and you only spend 109, you can kind of like just reset the thing like 17 times or something, and then you'll still kind of like break even. So I don't care about like having good risk to reward. I just care about being able to pass it within the 17 times.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. It's like, yeah, you literally get, if you do the math, it's like 1 to 15, like risk reward.
Yeah, it's all mathematics, man, and that's the whole prop firm space. And what everybody's watching needs to understand, like people will be like, you like, again, like perfect risk to reward, like, bro, like I don't care about risk to reward when it's prop firms. I care about return on my bloody investment. Just secure the bag and only think about, what if the economics make sense. Just go for the economics and don't go for what looks fancy.
Dude, 100%. And what's funny about that is you're right. It's pretty much like a 1 to 15 ROI or RR with futures props, and people are still like 95% of traders are still net negative. And I think it's because they just do it wrong and they don't see it like that. But also, I want to say, guys, that doesn't mean full port your accounts every single day and just play this game where like you're using no technical analysis. You're not trying to take good trades.
Yeah, you have to have a strategy behind it, obviously.
You have to have a strategy behind it, exactly. You still need to trade. But, you know, these are the realities of prop firms. So what firms do you trade with then, Fabio? You do mostly CFDs. Are you trading a lot of prop, or do you focus more on personal cash?
No, so I've always traded a lot of prop firms. So I've traded FTMO, Trading Pit, Funded Next, Alpha Capital. But I've recently started to shift the focus more and more towards personal capital. I've had my fair share of bad experiences. Obviously, everybody's aware of kind of like being set back to the 1% risk rule. And it's not like it's bad to risk just 1%, but even if you risk 1.01%, you'll already get an email. Look, you're crossing the line. Like, I'm not a bloody mathematician, Einstein, calculating it from the back of my head exactly this and this and this, right? Like, so that's obviously caused me my fair share of headaches. Then I've also had at some point in time that when you reach a certain profit target or profit amount with a prop firm, that they're naturally going to give you headaches as well. So I've always used a strategy of just going for around a 1.5k to 2k payout. So you probably also never really see me on a leaderboard. But I've always just had the strategy of going for like 1.5k, 2k, just secure the payout, and then I call it like scaling horizontally. So just getting, let's say, 20 different accounts instead of just having 2 accounts, and then on the 2 accounts doing, let's say, 8%. I'd rather have 20 accounts, just do 1%, lock in the payout, and then make 20k instead of like doing 2 accounts, both 8%, and then making, let's say, 16k, right? But yeah, those are kind of like the prop firms that I've used, and now just shifting naturally towards kind of like personal capital, as it just there's so less amount of rules. But prop firms are just the best way, obviously, to build up kind of like capital for everyone. And yeah, you should definitely get started there. But at some point when you have, let's say, 20, maybe 30k kind of like saved up to put into a trading account, I would trade that and then just kind of like use 3 to 5% risk per trade, and then just kind of like start scaling from there. Or even with like a 5k account, already using 5% risk per trade, then you're already risking $250. Use a 1 to 2 risk to reward, and you're already making $500 on a trade, right? Trading doesn't have to be kind of like your number one source of income straight away when you start trading full time. It can easily be something on the side, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do the exact same thing even on the future side, man. It's about scaling through copy trading as opposed to making a bunch of money on one or two accounts, especially with futures because you have the payout cap. So, I mean, that's just the way the system is designed. It's like, if you want to be someone that's getting those 5-figure payouts on average, you got to do it through copy trading. There's really no way on the future side. Where I know FX, you could get a 5-figure payout on one account, right? But this is something I've noticed with the CFD spaces. They seem to have issues when people do request those 5-figure payouts on one account. It's like they don't want to deal with that stuff. I think that's why futures, they put these payout caps in place because let's be guys, we all know how this game works. Like the firm needs to make money, the trader, and it also just needs to be fair enough for the trader to make it work. That's the game. That's the symbiotic relationship for both. So I feel like the payout caps, while a lot of people who are on the CFD side get turned off by it, I'm like, guys, it's not going to stop your ability to make a lot of money trading. It's just done a little different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I fully agree. And at the same time, like even though the payout caps seem like an issue, you're allowed to scale a lot more accounts at the same time. Like your max allocation with some of those firms. Like I remember looking on X back in the days, like I think like 2 years ago when I never really heard of futures trading. I saw people being funded 2 million with one firm and then requesting like on 30 accounts. I saw like plus 1800, plus 1800, plus 1800. It was like, what in the casino is this shit? Let me get in that, I need to get involved. But then at the same time, it's so easy to get caught up in it and lose so much money. So you have to really know what you're doing and have such a well-structured plan.
Yeah,
I see a lot of people are asking for some updates. Maybe we can give some updates. You were looking at Nasdaq earlier, right, Zach? You were looking at long.
Yeah, man. Nah, man. I've been in a short, very small size. I've got an issue with this like giga bullish trend we've been in, bro. I can go to my chart real quick and show you.
Yeah. Go and show it.
The last like 2 weeks has been a bit of a grind, just treading water. I'm not gonna lie. So like I know that Nasdaq goes up long term. Everyone says that, just buy. But when you're a day trader, you can short this thing every other day. You know, when you're looking for those lower time frame movements, shorts are available, longs are available, and like if I go to this daily chart, this is just the reality for me. Let me pull up the daily. Let me go to the minis here. Okay, so I talk about this all the time, but this move right here, where we've ripped up to new all-time highs, right? How many days did this take, according to the daily chart? It took about 21 trading days, 21, 22, 23 trading days. Total 30 days, 30 calendar days total. Okay, great. That's great. That's an amazing opportunity if you're the type of person who can buy the market, not worry about any manipulation, not try to trade counter trend at all, just close your eyes and buy. Yeah, you're going to do really well right here. But the reality is, what is the market, even the NQ, which goes up on a higher time frame, it's going up long term. What is it doing the other 90% of the time? It's doing this. It's doing a slow grind in one direction, whether that is up or down, right? With a lot of deep reversion. So what would you know what I'm good at trading at? Is this. I'm good at trading this type of market. One that reverts back to the mean, reverts back to equilibrium, then continues in some type of higher time frame trend, right? How much longer was this going on? This went on for 103 trading days. I would rather, as a day trader, be able to come to the market and make money in this for 103 days straight compared to be able to make money here for a couple weeks. Because this is not a sustainable move. Yes, it will always go up longer term. If the market doesn't go up long term, we have bigger problems to worry about, right? That's just the way the world is designed now. But it's going to revert back to equilibrium. It's going to mean revert. And when that happens, I'll be able to trade a little bit better and do a little better. And again, this is the beauty of prop firms because I still was able to do 16K in payouts, even though, man, I recently got moved to like true live capital with Tradeify. That's another thing about the future side. If you take like X amount of money in payouts, they'll actually start to move you to real live capital instead of sim funded capital. I got moved over to live with Tradeify, and I told everyone today I had to make an announcement. I blew the accounts. I blew them, but I still made money long term for the month, and that's the ROI. But yeah, I've been having a hard time with this market. I just can't stop seeing the shorts, and it is what it is, you know. So one thing I have done to survive though is trade much smaller size. I'm in on 2 micros here. I have like a $4,000 max loss limit on these accounts, right? there's no way I'm going to hit my risk of ruin at any point trading 2 micros day to day. So I've been widening up my stops, looking for a clear target, and also risk sinking. So that's another big factor. Like, I actually took a short overnight where I got in around here.
Ah, shit.
Beat out right here. What?
Oh, that was a nice one, yeah. That was a nice short.
Yeah, so I caught that short on a different set of accounts, on my Apex accounts. So now what I do with those is, those are up about $300 times 4 accounts, right? I'm done. Those accounts are locked up for the day. No matter what, I'm ending the day green on those accounts. Now I'm shifting over to these accounts. These are 300K accounts with top 1 futures. If these accounts end up going red, it is what it is. I'll be red on one set of accounts, green on another. And again, this is just kind of how I play the game with props. I call it risk sinking. So I don't put all of my risk into one basket on a single trade. But as far as the market goes, guys, I do want to see it go lower. We have some levels targeted. I like this 5-minute devil's mark right here on the 5-minute chart. There's another 15-minute devil's mark down here. We're below the previous day's point of control still. This has really been acting as resistance. Looks like the market's getting ready to try to pop through it and maybe invalidate this idea, I will admit. But I got into it when we were still below the previous day's POC. So we're in it. I have a hard stop up here. I won't let the trade go that far. You know, I'll probably close it manually before that, but we'll see. I'm trying to give it some of the room it needs. Maybe if it goes up to midnight, we can see if it gets a rejection there. And if it just blows through there and we get some strong candle closures above the high day, I'll cut the trade for probably like $300 loss. So.
But you time like your short based on like, what is it? Because if there's no price action to the left, because we're at all-time highs now, right? Like, what makes you then kind of like want to short the all-time high? Like, how do you know it's going to drop, or is it more just experience?
Well, I definitely don't know it's going to drop for sure, but I don't think I know anything's going to happen ever. I don't really subscribe to that. I subscribe to probabilities, and a big thing for me, man, is just putting myself in a trade location. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. What just happened there?
Somebody just got bombed, probably.
Someone or
News
Trump
has been
tweeting.
going up and down. Yeah. This morning as well, like your USD dropped really hard, so the dollar appreciated like on the back of that drop came from the drop of this morning was came from I think a boat getting hit by a missile from Iran, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's what caused this sell off here, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But
Okay, guys,
now like yeah, some clean price action. Like the way that I like trading Nasdaq always, or like always, it's not like I trade it too much. It's just by looking at that impulse up and then looking at again that kind of like that little bump in the road.
Shop
So that
big
for value
deals
gap
right
that you
now
have
at
marked
AO.
down is where I pretty
Get
much would
savings
be
on
looking to get into a
TVs,
long.
fridge
Like
freezers,
the
and
one that
washing
it hit
machines
this morning
from brands
with
like
that overall big
Hisense,
drop.
Hotpoint, and
That's kind of like
Viva.
where I would like
All
to
from the
enter.
UK's most
Then
trusted
ideally you would see
electrical
like the
retailer.
market structure
Shop
shift
now
on
at
like the lower
AO.com.
time frame. So for example, on the 5-minute here, you indeed
Verify
have
most
such a
trusted at
nice
AO.com/trust.
market structure shift on those individual candlesticks. I don't know if I have the right data feed, or whatever you guys use, because I don't have like a subscription to futures data, but just giving you guys an idea. For example here, so obviously probably is going to drop now that we're talking about kind of like if you position yourself in a long. It's how most of the time it goes. But whenever you have, let's say, this bullish trend here, yeah, you look at those lows. I just saw you. It's very nice to see kind of like the similarity. You look at those lows, for example, let's say here, right? This low here for me is, let's say, a clean liquidity low. If I, for example, look at market structure, like this is a swing low, this is a swing high, and then underneath those little bumps, because this for me is the impulse up. You guys can see my screen, right?
Wait, I think you might be on a different chart. I see you have US 30.
Ah, yeah. I see it. Yeah, I see it. It's on a different chart. Yeah, too many trading views open.
We see it now.
There I have it. So whenever you have, let's say, I think it was, where was it? This is the right chart, right? Nasdaq.
Yeah, you're good. At Q1, you got it.
Could be lagging behind.
Oh yeah, I mean, bro, you can use a CFD if you want. At the end of the day, the price action's pretty similar, so we'll get the picture still.
Yeah.
Just based on price action. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, perfect. So we look at, for example, the impulse in towards the highs here. Yeah, the overall little bumps in the road that I talked about earlier. Those are kind of like my points of liquidity. Like you, for example, have here like a little fair value gap, right? This for you is a fair value gap, I think. where you would be looking for a long from like this. For me, it's just kind of like this low that you have here, or this low here, or this low here. Those are kind of like my liquidity points where I'm going to be looking for the next long to go up higher. So I love, for example, longing here, right, with whatever, because you use a smaller stop loss. Or, for example, then trying again to long it here from the next point of, let's say, liquidity or whatever, this low over here, and then just kind of like riding that wave further in towards the highs. So if you look at kind of like the current price action, and again, it's relatively messy, but let's say this is your impulse in towards the highs, I'll just be looking at, and this is 1 hour structure, right? But let's say on the 15-minute it would look different. Let's say this here is your break structure in towards the highs. This is the low, this is the high. For me, like, this is a low, and then these indeed are the lows, and then maybe I'd be looking at whatever, this low over here. But now that we're at this low, this for me is kind of like the next long in towards the highs, just to continue kind of like that trend. And then this morning when we took out, if you would look at this from like a lower time frame perspective, I think everybody who's on this stream now was looking at these equal lows this morning, right? That's kind of like your target to get out.
Target, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this kind of like imbalance here. If you see how we kind of like move into that, then if you look at the 5-minute, you have the low break here, and then this low here got broken by this high here. So for me, that's the market structure shift and kind of like validation that you can go long and that there is indeed demand, imbalance, liquidity, whatever we want to bloody call it, to kind of like just trade back up towards the highs like that. Yeah. And then every single time you liquidate something, because now you're just kind of like forming a new trend, right? So here you have, let's say, the impulse up. For me, kind of like the skill in would have been this low here. If we then again can take out that low and look for the next market structure shift again in towards the highs.
Yeah, I like it. It's so, I mean, you're talking about trend continuation and essentially waiting for some type of internal liquidity sweep at one of those key swing lows. You want to see the trend continue based off the analysis that the market's going up. It's likely to continue, but you understand that there's manipulation in the markets on an internal side on the lower time frames, right? So you wait for that sweep, and is that your entry trigger as well, or do you wait, or do you then zoom into a lower time frame? And like you said, wait for that maybe lower time frame structure shift as confirmation.
Yeah, so what it looks like is, and like I mainly do it on the 4 hour, right? So because you can see like price is like the way markets move is universal. So we'll do it on any single time frame. Obviously, when the market is super bullish, like it will not retrace as much. That's why I don't like trading Nasdaq that much, because if I use my hard time frame kind of like strategy on this, like you'll have to wait for a long time or long periods where there's not going to be a setup. But when the market moves a little bit more, in my opinion, beautiful with bigger swings, the best way to kind of like approach it is, for example, here where let's say you have a high, you have a low, you have a lower high, you have a lower low. This is your break structure down, and then within that impulse in towards the downside, you have, if you go just one time frame lower, can be, you just need always to decide kind of like the market structure time frame where you kind of like decide your directional bias, and then kind of like just one time frame lower is going to be your entry time frame. We then have within that impulse down here liquidity high, here liquidity high, right? Just those little bumps that I'm talking about. Push, pull back, push, pull back, push, pull back, push. And then you see once you take out this high over here, it's like no reaction, just continuation. But once you take out this high here, you get here the high break, then here eventually you get the low break, and then I'll just be entering on that overall low break with the stop loss above the overall highs, and then just again targeting the new lower low. And that's kind of like how I then combine just two time frames together to trade. And then it can be the daily together with the 4 hour, it can be the 4 hours together with the 1 hour, it can be the 15 minutes together with the 5 minute, it can be the 5 minutes together with the 1 minute. Just kind of like continue doing that. And this is now like 4 hour and 1 hour. And then what I just showed you here, that would be 50 minute and 5 minute. So 50 minute, you decide that you're bullish, right? I think everybody can kind of like see like momentum is up, obviously. But again, that's my approach, and your approach can differ from that. But as long as you just do the same thing over and over again, that's the most important part.
Absolutely. No, there are some key differences, but at the end of the day, it seems like you also subscribe to the idea that price action, as far as like time frames go, is fractal. Is that true?
Exactly. So your daily impulse is going to be your 4-hour trend. Your 4-hour impulse is going to be your 1-hour trend. Your 1-hour impulse is going to be like your 50-minute trend. Like that, like that, like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I always say, if you zoom into a chart and you don't tell me what time frame it is, I don't know. It could be a daily, it could be a weekly, it could be a yearly chart. I have no clue if you don't just tell me what time frame it is. So I subscribe to the same idea, man. Time frames are fractal. Everything that happens on the 1 minute happens on the daily and the weekly. Obviously, as a swing trader, like you said, you probably pay quite a bit of attention to fundamentals, which I really don't at all. I trade pure price action and technicals. But again, on the lower time frames, this is just not necessary. I can see a bullish news print, and then the market goes down all day because the news was already factored into the price for the last 2 weeks. Things like that happen all the time. Perfect example, when Trump got into office, everyone was just insanely bullish, right? Saying the market's going to rip up because Trump got elected. Okay, well, it ripped up for about 6 months in anticipation of him getting elected. Then it went up for another week or two, and then it blow off top for like, I don't know, what was it, 3-4 months? The market went lower.
Yeah, something like that. Same was with crypto. The top of crypto was 5 December, I think. And then since that 5 December top, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was beginning of December. I remember, man, I was seeing crypto just here. You can see, or it's October 2025, even earlier, or was it? Yeah, I just remember everything going up, like XRP, for example, here. Yeah, good old days.
100%, man. Yeah, I mean, markets have definitely been different since Trump got in. A lot of people have had a hard time adjusting. It's funny because not that I complain about price action, but I've joked saying that, like the Biden market was easier to trade U.S. indexes in because it was more reliable. But what's funny is, even though I say that, the reality is I've been having my best year so far, and it's been very much our presidency. So, it is what it is. I guess we do like the volatility. But, yeah, I mean, guys, I'm still in this short. I'm not going to lie. Just still holding it. I'm only down like 20 points. It's not like it's anything scary. So we're going to see. Again, I'm always looking for draws on liquidity more so than market goes up. So it will continue to go up. And I'll be the first to admit that the last 2 weeks have been tough because it's been a lot easier to just long this market, up at the highs. It's just something that's hard for me to do psychologically. So the way I've been surviving is just sizing down 2 micros, risking a few $100s per trade. That's how I'm going to survive this until it goes back into a more, mean reverting market, which is what's happening 90% of the time. We might be in a higher time frame trend, of course, but on the lower time frames, the market is mean reverting. It's going back to equilibrium. It's sweeping internal liquidity, and that's where I get in and get out on moves like that. So I'll keep you guys updated on this trade. Fabio, though, I am interested in how you actually go about, like as a swing trader. I think as a day trader, the way my money comes in is so unreliable. I just have months that are incredible. I have months that are okay. And then I have bad months where I make nothing. Example, February, no payouts for the month of February. It was the first month out of the year so far that I've made no money in terms of payouts coming back into my bank. Then March comes, like February, for whatever reason, so hard. March comes in, did 34,000 in payouts. It was an amazing month.
Wow.
April, 16K. It's going great, but it's lower. It's only half what I made in March. When I first got into trading, I thought whatever my highest month was going to be meant that that's my new baseline, and I'll always make that much. This is how people think, and it's just the most. It could not be further from the truth, right? Like trading profits come in very disproportionate waves, and being a day trader and doing it long term is you really need to have like a fundamental grasp on that you are not necessarily going to make money every single month, and you have to be prepared to have months where you make maybe 30% of your yearly salary. It can happen in that 1 month. This is just my experience as a day trader, but I'm wondering how you, as someone who swing trades, like how often are you taking payouts? When you do, are they huge? Are they like windfalls, or like how do you go about that as a swing trader?
Yeah, no, good question. So first of all, I think it's very important to understand that like with swing trading, you have to have a very realistic approach to the markets. So what I mean with that is don't believe in kind of like doing, let's say, more than 4%, 5% consistently every single month. I always kind of like joke around and say like, look, if you are doing more than 4% a month every single month for for longer than 12 years. Like any single hedge fund in the bloody world, even Warren Buffett is going to send his private jet, fly you over to to his villa and get you working for him and trading for him. So first of all, understand that already doing like 1 or 2% a month is fantastic. So that's also kind of like how I go about with prop firm trading. Like I said, like I just have, let's say, 20 accounts, and then across the 20 accounts, I'll go for around a 1.5 to 2.5% payout. And if I get that payout, I'm already extremely happy for the month. And I tend to stick to that. And all it requires me to do is to, let's say, identify one good setup in the month, right? Or maybe two. Obviously, I won't trade all 20 accounts at the same time. So I split them up into, for example, section A, section B, section C, section D. But what I'll be doing is let's say AUD right now, yeah? So AUD is, for example, in an uptrend. It's clearly bullish. It's been trending in towards the highs. What I'll be doing and what you'll see me doing is, for example, on a 4-hour time frame, yeah, I'll be looking at, hey, we have, let's say, this first impulse in towards the highs. We take out internal liquidity low. We see another impulse here in towards the highs. We take out internal liquidity low. What I'll be doing is I'll, for example, be buying this liquidity low here, and I'll just put my stop pretty much on the next liquidity low, and I'll just be targeting around a 1 to 2 risk to reward, depending on kind of like how the market moves. Will I close it out a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later, but ideally always a little bit earlier. And what I'll be doing here is I'll just go for around 1.5%, because at the same time I could be, let's say, in a GBP USD long, right, or in a NZD USD long, for example. NZD USD gave the exact same price action back then. Just enter on the liquidity low, stop loss, nice and wide. If I see NZD USD is running at, let's say, 0.75%, with AD USD being at around 1.5%, together that's, let's say, 2.25%. I'll just lock it in, and I'll park the accounts until payout. And yeah, my month is pretty much done. Like that's why my kind of like my returns are very predictable. For a lot of people, it's very boring, but at the same time, you have to remember that one, it's very realistic what I'm doing. It causes me to, for example, never really blow up accounts. Like I've had certain prop firm accounts for over a year, for example, which you won't really see, I think, with futures trading. And what I did, so yeah, so I'll be trading the same accounts for over a year, and yeah, it enables me to live a very free life. Like, for example, last month I was in Bali in Indonesia. Like every single morning from like 6 until 9, I'm just surfing. Then kind of like from 9 till 11, I'll just read about the markets, analyze my favorite pairs. But again, like analyzing a pair on the daily or whatever on the 4-hour, it doesn't really take me more than, let's say, half an hour, right? I'm more busy just kind of like reading up and understanding like overall narrative of certain currencies. So like we mentioned earlier, like I love doing fundamental analysis, but it's because I'm just so interested about what's going on in the world and how that's translated into a line on the chart, right? Why, for example, on a daily time frame, did AD USD reverse here from the bottom all the way back in towards the highs? It's not because there's a liquidity low or there's a supply demand zone or there's a fair value gap, but it's actual for a fundamental reason that it shifts completely in towards the upside. And being busy with that, for me, is the most interesting thing ever. And then I'm enabling myself to be busy with that because I just